Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we're talking 2023 fantasy football. It's my favorite time of year, Jeff. I love talking about next year. It's the best. We don't need to talk about our failures of 2022. Let's talk about the good things of 2023 and what we think. So we're doing wide receiver rankings today. We did our running back episode 2 weeks ago. We didn't have an episode last week before Christmas, but check out our running back top 10 for next year. We did that one. It's on everywhere, podcast, YouTube. It's on the website. Do all that. Today we have wide receivers, so we're going to jump right into it. I feel like we could have a consensus at number one. Jeff, who's your number one?
It's gonna be Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it for me either. This was easy. Pencil him in, no debate. Yeah, I had no debating at all for me. It was Justin Jefferson all day. He's so good.
And he's. And I don't see anything changing for him as well. In fact, I think probably both of us we might have. I think we talked about it when we did running backs, but Dalvin Cook does feel like he is taking, like, I kind of want to fade him just a little bit. And in that case, it just makes Justin Jefferson that much more safe. I mean, he's already one of the top three guys for sure. I mean, the guy has the ability to have like really crazy TD output as well. So his dominance could actually continue. It could actually get better. And you really can't say that for many more than a few guys in the league. So I love his age. I love where he's at. I love how much they use him. So there's really no knock against him. And he has no history of injury or anything like that could really detour you. So I like Justin Jefferson the most. Who do you have at number two? Because I think that this is where you're kind of like, okay, injuries, everything plays in now.
So, Jefferson was the no-brainer, right? Like, that was simple. Dude, the guy has 1,700 yards and there's 2 games left. It's insane. His numbers are crazy. But at number two is where I really had you could go 2 through, I don't know, you could go a ways down and I'd be okay with probably an explanation. So I'm still actually debating before I say it. I'm trying to think, do I do it or do I not? You know what? I'm just gonna go with Stephon Diggs. I love Stephon Diggs. I'm gonna go Diggs. I debated on this one, and I think if people have listened to the show over the years, they know I've been a Diggs fan for a while. I probably always rank Diggs higher than consensus almost all the time. Remember when he was back in the 20s that year? We got him as a steal. That was insane. I'm gonna go Diggs. I love the situation. Great quarterback and all of it. There's nothing. I don't think you can. There's many options here. This isn't the only one. I just love Stephon Diggs. I always have. He's struggled. Part of the reason why is he struggled the last few weeks. And I think that's where people might want to lower him. It's been a couple weeks that are just not great, and I still think he's that good. He still has this year, even with the last 3 games, he's only had like 10 catches for about 120 total yards in 3 games. But he still has 101 catches for 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns this year, and that's with 2 games left. That is some big time numbers. The only issue is going to be age, right? He's going to be going into he'll be 30 years old during next season. He'll start at 29. But I think that's still fine. He still should have a couple of good years. He's just been consistent though. 101 catches so far this year, 103 last year, 127 in 2020. The year he went down was the 2019, and that's why people lowered him. But he had 102 catches in 2018. He had he's had 4 of his last 5 years 100 catches. Over 1,000 yards in his last 5. He's consistent like that. Double-digit touchdowns the last 2. So I'm going to go Diggs here. This could change, but it's really close though. It's really, really close for me.
Yeah, we can really go any different direction. I have Stephon Diggs as number 5.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm good with most of these. I can see this range of players you can mix and match, no problem.
Right. And I have no issue with putting him up there. I think he is probably a safer player than some of these other guys I have, like 2 of them I have above him. But yeah, he's great. But with the offense not necessarily needing to be completely his way, I just think the other guys have a little more, upside. But hey, he's a safer pick. He is going to be great. You can't go wrong with pretty much anyone in the top 6 or so. But my number 2, and I did not think this was going to be the case, to be quite honest, but Davante Adams. Look, he signed that massive contract. He has put up good numbers. He's playing well. I don't think that situation changes for him necessarily at all. They go to him in the red zone like crazy. That did not change him moving from, the Packers to Vegas. They're still trying to force feed him the ball down there. So I think he is just incredibly safe. He's been wonderful the last 4 or 5 weeks anyway. So yeah, I would go Davante Adams because not only is
he was wonderful until the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
terrible.
I guess that's very true, yeah.
Before that, he was awesome.
Yeah, he was awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's incredibly safe, and so I would put him there. And he doesn't seem to miss time, and there once again, it like Diggs, but I think that the Vegas absolutely needs him, and they will force feed him the ball even when they don't have to. So that's why I like him a little more.
So Adams is my 5.
Okay,
a little lower. I guess again, I'm telling you, these guys are interchangeable to me. In a way, I thought of Adams higher too. Adams might have even been higher maybe if it wasn't for the last 2 games of 6 catches for 43 yards. Because before that, the dude was dominating weeks 9, 10, 11. He had 10 for 146 and 2 touchdowns, 9 for 126 and a touchdown, 7 for 141 and 2 touchdowns. Then he had only a 7 for 74, and he turned around with an 8 for 177 and 2 touchdowns. He was just on a tear there, and he should be great next year, right? I guess the only thing, he'll be 30 at the start of the year, so he's only 1 year older than Diggs. There's not much of a difference there. He should have another year or two that he's really a top level. You would think, why not? And could be more than that. So yeah, I'm good with Adams at 2. I can see the point. I can see why you'd want to go there. Every receiver has down game, so I'm not worried about that. Justin Jefferson had him. But yeah, he's my number 5. He's my number 5. So I'm curious if
that is interesting because we went with guys that are a little safer and we split the difference, right? We didn't put them next to each other. So I'm guessing we have the same 2 guys in between.
Could be.
And it's big, it's kind of big swinging guys. And so my number 3, and it'll be really interesting which one, because the injury of one of the big time wide receivers is the question mark. But Ja'Marr Chase is my number 3, actually.
And he's my number 3 as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chase was actually who I debated on putting 2. I thought about putting him over Diggs. I'm very, very, very close to it. So I think we're probably the same thing. Chase could definitely go to number 2 for me. And that might change. That very well could change as we talk about when we get into next year and talk about next year. I don't know yet. I'm not sure yet. Great quarterback situation.
He's all upside. If it wasn't for injuries and the fact that the Bengals took a step back as an offense this year overall, he could be looking at the number 1, because I feel like he has the big playability. He doesn't have to catch as many balls to be as dangerous. They love to air it out to him. And, you have T. Higgins, you have Mixon, but you don't have anyone like him. He is definitely the focal point. He is the guy that makes it go. So yeah, he's a very, very intriguing one. Ja'Marr Chase he's going to be very high in a lot of people's boards. And I could actually see him being number 1, as in people will make the speculation that, okay, he's been in the league a couple years now. This is where he makes a big leap forward even.
And he will turn 23 in March. Yeah, he was born March 1, 2000.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm with you though. Chase number 3, he could definitely go higher. Jefferson's that sure thing number 1 for me, but Chase could be number 2. We'll see. It could go. Diggs is safer probably. Chase should be great, but
well, I think Adams and Diggs are both safer.
But
and we've saw it this year, right?
Yeah, Chase is awesome though. The guy's going to be
amazing. Yeah, he's amazing.
He just is. All right, so number 4. This is where I'm interested to see where you go. Who'd you go number 4?
Damn the injury. I'm going Cooper Kupp.
Okay, so I did not. I went him. I put him 6. I moved him around a few times.
I get it.
I'm good with him at 4 though. He was really good again this year before the injury. He's their whole offense. He's going to be next year. Stafford's coming back. He said he should be healthy. Kupp was, if you look, like, it'll get forgotten because of the injury, right? But he played 9 games, which actually feels even more than I realized. It's crazy that I feel like that happened a long time ago. But he played 9 games. In those 9 games, he had 75 catches for 812 yards in 6 touchdowns in 9 games. That's just one over half. Like, he was on, like, his pace was like, shoot, what is that pace? That's crazy. He was, what do we have, 17 games these days? He was on pace for 141 catches.
And he, at the time, in half PPR, he was averaging the most points. So in that time span, a few players played 9 games, but he was averaging 20.3 points per game. Diggs was number 2 at 19.7, and then we dropped to 18.8 with Tyreek. So he was still technically the number 1 wide receiver in the time frame he was playing.
Yeah, he was great. He was like on pace for 140 catches, 1,500 yards, double-digit touchdowns. That he was on pace for an awesome year. And yeah, I'm good with 4 for him. Yeah, I'm good with it for you. I put him 6. But yeah, we're good.
So that means, who did you put at number 4 then?
So I put Tyreek Hill, which Tyreek Hill
I'm surprised by that. Why you?
Always, though, you just don't know what to do with him, right? But he has some awesome games. There's sometimes you're like, man, he didn't really show up here. He's had some of that this year too, right? He's had some of these massive games, right? He's had a 9 for 146, 12 for 188, 12 for 177, 10 for 160, 11 for 190. Those games are crazy. And then he's also had a 2 for 33, a 5 for 44, something like that. 9 for 69, not great, like, numbers wise, but it was a touchdown and PPR. It's good. So, but he's been, I think, better even than this year. And even this last game was 4 for 103. I guess the question could be quarterback. Tua, I mean, he might have just had his 3rd concussion. That's crazy. But as long as he's okay, it should be good. But yeah, Tyreek, 113 catches for 1,600 yards and 7 touchdowns this year. That is by far the most yards he's ever had in his career. It's already the most catches he's had in his career. That's crazy to say that. Most catches, most yards he's ever had in his career, and he has 2 games left.
Yeah.
I mean, the yardage is most he had in Kansas City he had 1,479 back in 2018. He's at 1,600 this year. So didn't get the touchdowns. That's the only difference. Only 7 touchdowns. He had a couple double-digit touchdown seasons in Kansas City. But Tyreek's great. But again, that's what I'm saying. I'm good with mixing and matching these guys a bit here. Yeah. So, all right. So number 4. Who's your number 6 then?
Tyreek.
It was a Tyreek. So there, I'm good with that top 6. That's the 2 through 6. I feel like is a very interchangeable group.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Tyreek, I mean, you made a very good argument, a very good point of why he should be higher. My entire thing is exactly what you kind of alluded to. I think that there's more question marks because people will be able to watch film and actually figure out what McDaniels is doing. We don't know about Tua. Waddle is legit. Like, Waddle is very, very legit. Yes. And having him as number 2, they've shown that they can definitely spread the ball out and they can support both of them. But you do wonder, what if they get a little bit better at the run game? What if this? What if that? So, I mean, once again, he came to number 6. It's not exactly, disagreeing with the talent, but he came with a few more question marks for me. But yeah, 2 through 6, I agree with you. Like, whatever one falls to me, I'm happy with.
Mm-hmm. All right. Who do you got number 7?
Here I got AJ Brown.
Okay.
So I don't know.
He's my 8th.
Okay. So yeah, in the ballpark.
Yeah.
In the ballpark, we're 1 away from him. So
right.
Yeah, he's great. Look, that team is really, really good. Hurts has been killing it. He's been very successful with AJ Brown. And I think that even if Hurts gets, does get an injury, is out for a prolonged amount of time, AJ Brown is kind of bulletproof on that team because he's doing it with a running quarterback. As long as they're good, he's going to be good. I just really like him, but he probably, because of Hurts, he doesn't have the as high of a ceiling as these other wide receivers that are on kind of like purely passing teams. So even with that, I have to, that's where I think that he falls off just a little bit. And that's where that tier number 3, if you will, begins for me.
So AJ, I could see him going higher in the ranks too. It depends on how he finishes out this year. If he has 2 more games like he's had the last couple of weeks, he could kind of jump. These last couple of weeks, he's been really, really good. 6 for 103, 9 for 181. He had an 8 for 119. He had a stretch before that where it wasn't as great, right? 4 games where he went 4 for 59, 1 for 7, 5 for 60, and 4 for 46. And earlier in the year, he had a 3 for 32 and a 5 for 67 and a 5 for 69. So he's had like 7 poor games. In a couple of those, he might have got a touchdown to save it, but he's had 7 games of his 16 that have not been great. But then he's had the 10 for 155, the 6 for 156 and 3 touchdowns, 8 for 119 and 2, 9 for 181, 6 for 103. So he's puts up a lot of those games. So we'll see if this sustains itself this next couple of games. But he's great. He really is. I could see him get higher in my ranks. I'm just not there yet. But still, 80 catches, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns this year. It's been a really good year for A.J. Brown for sure. But he was my number 8. So that means I have a different number 7 than you. And I went with CeeDee Lamb here. So CeeDee Lamb, I'd like to see a little bit more from him. The talent is all there, though. He started the year, the first about 8 games, we were waiting for something, right? We wanted to see more. He really wasn't honestly that good, like not the level we wanted him to be those first 8 games. If I reel off the numbers, 2 for 29, 7 for 75, 8 for 87, 6 for 97, 5 for 53, 5 for 68, 4 for 70, and 5 for 77. That's not the start you want from a top 10 receiver. But then he's come around with some bigger games later on. He's had on his last 7 games, he's had 4 of them that have been really good. He had 11 for 150, a 6 for 106, a 7 for 126, and a 10 for 120 with 2 touchdowns. So you can see it. You can see it at times. And I don't know that there's a stretch in there, right? That a lot of those games were a Cooper Rush stretch. And we got to remember that. And that could be part of the reason why his numbers are so far down. It was Cooper Rush was the quarterback. With Dak, his numbers, I don't have the breakdown, but I guarantee you with Dak, his numbers are much higher. And so that's why he can go in, but he say all that, there's some bad games, 91 catches for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. So pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why he shows up at number 8 for me.
Okay.
So we flip-flopped AJ and CD, and for the exact same reasons. Like he has been, and I feel like he is underperformed and he's still putting up those kind of numbers.
Those first couple games. Yeah, I think he definitely did.
Yeah. So, I mean, I absolutely love what the guy brings. And I was really hyping him up this year. And I mean, it feels like I was wrong, but not completely. And I think that is the beautiful thing about drafting him is his ability just kind of overcomes all the different things that got thrown into the muck as far as like Dallas this year. So, I think he's incredibly safe as well.
All right. So that's so far through 8, no crazy surprises, I would say. I think we fall off again after 8, to be honest with you. I think there's another level.
I agree.
So, not sure where you're going to go with this. So number 9.
Number 9, I'm actually going to go to St. Brown. Amon-Ra.
I did too.
Okay. Yeah. And I will be honest. I'm a Detroit guy and I wanted to go away from him, but you look at the numbers, you look at how they work the ball down the field, and there's no reason to go away from him. He hits you as far as PPR. He's getting the yardage now. The offense is going in the right direction. Goff is going to be there for another year, and they're adding more wide receivers, but I don't think that's going to take away what he does in the field. And Hockenson actually getting traded only bolsters that for me. So I mean, I think he's incredibly safe. He's not as big as these other wide receivers, and Detroit still lacks as far as how many touchdowns they're going to put on the board. They're very up and down with all of that. So comparatively to these other guys, maybe not quite, but he deserves to be in the top 10.
Yeah. So I went with it too. I feel like he's going to be relatively safe, right? And he's going to put up solid numbers. So since the TJ Hockenson trade, he has been in those weeks, he is the 6th ranked wide receiver in standard scoring, let's say. So that's even standard scoring. Go to PPR, is he probably around the same? Let's see here. He's 3rd in PPR in scoring, not in points per game. So the points per game is probably 5th, but either way, he's right around there. He's a top 5-6 receiver since they traded TJ Hockenson. He's consistent. He's solid. He might not put up the absolute massive numbers and have the huge ceiling like some of the guys we've talked about, but he is going to be really safe and just really, really a solid player, I think. So I'm surprised. I can't believe I have him in my top 10. I wanted to fade him this year. I talked about it on the show. I didn't buy it. I didn't think it was going to be a real thing. And yet we're here with 2 games left, and he already has more catches and more yards and more touchdowns than he did last year. So it's pretty solid year for Amon-Ra St. Brown. So there we go. We have our top 9 so far. We've had all of the same players, just in slightly different orders. But this is where it could go interesting. Number 10. I don't know what you would do here.
I'll be honest. Right now, I think. All right, I actually have one that I'm going to put on here, but I will say this. I need to see the rest of the year to see if I'm going to be accurate on this one, because I'm taking a shot right now, because there are guys that are safer, but if I'm guessing of like who I think is going to be like around, and I'm going to take that 10th spot with the wide receiver. He's up and down, but right now he's kind of the only show in town I think they're going to build around him. I'm going to go Christian Watson.
I had a feeling you were going to go Christian Watson. Yeah. I just did.
And I know I'm a huge supporter of him, but hey, look, he was he was a top 3. He might have been even number 1 in a 5-week span, because he was putting up giant numbers as far as touchdowns. His yardage isn't quite there the last couple of weeks. He's getting 50, 60 yards or something like that, but they're targeting him more and more. And
they're really, looking for him. Yeah, they're looking for him for touchdowns.
And these numbers, like if you just look at where he's ranked right now, it's going to be really low, but he was also fighting off injuries. And the first 5, 6, 7 weeks that he played, he was getting targeted like twice. Then when they finally did go to him, he had the big breakout game with 3 touchdowns. And then it was 2 touchdowns or 1 touchdown into the last couple of weeks. Who else do they have? They're not going to go out. Even if they get a big time wide receiver, which is unlike the Packers, he would be the number 1. That means Christian Watson is number 2. He has the deep threat ability. He's starting to get the trust of Rodgers. The sky really is the limit for him. And I was saying that when it was just his physical ability. He is starting to put it together, and we haven't even really scratched the surface of what he could do with Rodgers. So there are other guys that I could bring up that very easily I could slide in that 10th spot. But if he finishes strong, that is who I probably will go with.
I just had a feeling you were going to throw him there. I just knew it. So Christian Watson, I mean, he really came on with those touchdowns. I mean, he should have more. Aaron Rodgers was looking for him. What was it, 2 games ago? And he just didn't see, he didn't know the play call or something. He'll get there. Yeah. But
he dropped a couple earlier on in the year too.
He did. He's starting to come around, but take a shot there. So I'll go with my number 10. I put Garrett Wilson here.
So. I was wondering. Okay, no, that's fine. We both took a shot at the youngster.
I love Garrett Wilson. He's shown some big time flashes this year that he can be really good. He's had some bad games like you're going to expect from rookies, like we talked about Watson. He's had a game where he had 1 for 8. He's had a 3 for 27, a 2 for 41, right? A 2 for 12. He's had some of those. This last week he was only 4 for 30, but I will blame that on Zach Wilson because Zach Wilson's terrible. That's the thing here. Zach Wilson will not be his quarterback next year. That will not be the case. And it's over for Zach Wilson in New York. It just is. It hasn't worked. It's a bad situation for him. So Garrett Wilson, it's going to be very interesting who his quarterback is. And that's going to be, I can't see it being Mike White. I know that's like, it just can't be, right? Like it can't be. The Jets actually have a good team. They need a quarterback that they should. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, if you're and it's tough right now, but if you're a veteran quarterback, you got a couple of years left. That is where I would want to go.
Yeah, it's a solid team, good defense. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Breece Hall, Michael Carter, solid. I mean, Bam Knight, Zonovan Knight would be like your third. You have some okay players, solid players. So it'll be very interesting. Garrett Wilson, I'm going to put him here at 10 right now because I love the talent. I think he's a special player, but I worry that is he going to be buried because he's at the Jets and he's not going to have a quarterback. And that's what can happen sometimes. You get these other guys these rookies who end up looking great, like Christian Watson, who's looking, he's going to have Aaron Rodgers. Justin Jefferson was able to be great because he had a very competent quarterback. Kirk Cousins isn't the greatest thing out there, but he's a solid quarterback that can make a receiver look good. Jamar Chase, the other young guy from last year, he has Joe Burrow. These guys all at quarterbacks Garrett Wilson, I worry. That's why I worry. I think he could be just as good as some of these guys, or maybe not Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson level, but he's not. To be honest, I don't think he's far off from that. But if you don't have the quarterback, it makes it very difficult. So right now, I'll placeholder at number 10 for Garrett Wilson. Love the player. And the problem, here's the thing. If Garrett Wilson actually gets ranked 10th, like in consensus ranks, I will probably fade him.
Because, 100%.
You know what I mean?
I would do the same thing with Christian Watson. I'm like, that's too high.
Yeah, so I will say that. I'm just like, I want to put him here personally, but I hope I'm ahead of the consensus, and the consensus still has him lower, and that's where I'm hoping to be. With that's why. But I figured we'd throw a number, especially because at number 10 here, there wasn't a sure thing other guy, right? No. You could have put Jalen Waddle here.
Yeah, that's fine. That's actually the guy that a lot of people would, and I agree. Like he would be one of them contending here, but you're kind of like, all right, well, if Tyreek and Tua's not there, it's the same question marks, and all of a sudden you're like, I have 2 wide receivers in a weird situation on here.
Yep.
But even with that, a lot of older names too that no one is going to put up there, right? Because the other guys that were putting up numbers, first of all, T. Higgins put up pretty good numbers, but
it's just
was that because Ja'Marr Chase was out.
T. Higgins is he's always a 10 to 15 guy to me. He's always going to be that.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins actually putting up numbers, but at the same time,
he's going to be older. Keenan Allen's older. Mike Williams inconsistent. DK Metcalf inconsistent. There's a lot of those guys, right? Chris Godwin inconsistent. Don't know what his quarterback's going to be, right? Don't know what that situation is going to be.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So, Devontae Smith actually has been coming on, but I have a hard time putting him number 10.
But he's a number 2. He's a good player, great player, but he's number 2. Debo wasn't the same this year.
That was the one I wanted to bring up because he is one that top 3 wide receiver, and neither of us even sniffed putting him in the top 10. And I was a huge proponent of shading him, just fading him out hard this year.
He could have some okay value.
Does he go to a different team and it changes the whole dynamic, right? That could be an AJ Brown situation, but way better for Debo.
They paid him a lot of money, so we'll see.
Yeah, I know they did, but I don't know why.
I don't know why and not use him
in that situation. Like,
but why and not use him in the ways that made him good?
Yeah,
the reason why Debo was they threw him at running back. Like, he was a different type of player.
Exactly. You just get the ball in his hands, and as soon as he says, I don't want to do that, then in that offense, you're not throwing it to him enough to make him worthwhile.
Well, and then there's some others, like Chris Olave showed a lot of promise, but it's been a little bit, he hasn't been as good lately, but also you can say Andy Dalton, right, is his quarterback.
Yeah, well, the question is, who is his quarterback going to be next year? We don't know.
It's not been as good as early on, but he still has some talent. Obviously, he's going to be good. And then you got players like Calvin Ridley, we haven't seen in a year and a half. Calvin Ridley was really good. And where are we even at? When was that at this point? I don't even, was it 2020 was the last time we really saw him? When did we cause last year? He only played a little bit, right? He left at some point. Yeah. He played 5 games last year, right? But the year before he had 90 catches for 1,300 yards. So Calvin Ridley's an interesting player. Hard to really, and he plays for Jacksonville now, which is very interesting with Trevor Lawrence. So Calvin Ridley could actually,
I mean, that could make it.
He's not top 10 for me, but that's some interesting value though.
I mean, it very, very much, like, definitely interesting. I thought when you were like, oh, he's nearing the top 10, I'm like, well, that's a hot take.
No, it's not there.
I don't know if the guy's even going to play.
He's very interesting. But I'll say the after that top 10 guys, top 9 guys, top 8 guys are great. Then you got Amon-Ra, then after that, it's kind of like, don't know how it's going to play out. So,
yeah, I mean, I think you want to hit hard the top 9.
You want some of those guys. And I think you have to go receivers earlier because you want those guys.
Yeah. Because after that, we kind of get to a place where it's a slush pile of guys again. And you're talking about a lot of number 2s, but even guys we don't know about. Chris Godwin, like you talking about, Mike Evans, like what is going to happen with those? Amari Cooper. You got, that's where you put like Devontae Smith and Hollywood Brown when he was healthy. He was doing great early on in the year. He got hurt less. So what is going to happen with Michael Thomas?
Who knows?
when he played, he was averaging 17 points a game. And that was coming off of like missing an entire season. Like, he is a freak if he can stay on the field. I mean, it's one of those where you have no idea.
Yeah, it's And then who knows? There's always somebody that emerges that we're not thinking of right now, right? And who will that be? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I was wondering, is there anyone else that was hurt that I'm not thinking of that just completely?
Not really. I don't think there's not. No, not really. There really isn't. I'm looking through some of the guys I can think of. There really isn't. Some guys who could get undervalued though because of injury this year and because they hadn't done anything before was be somebody like a Jahan Dotson.
Because they haven't done anything before. I like how you slid that one in there.
He never did. He was hurt. First off, he was a rookie, right? And so he was kind of getting into it. Then he got hurt, came back, didn't play much, and then now these last couple games you've seen flashes from Dotson, but this isn't going to get him up to a high rank. But these last 3 weeks, 5 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown, 4 for 105 and a touchdown, and 6 for 76 and a touchdown. It's a start of something for the rookie. So he's one of those guys that'll probably be on my radar. He's not going to be ranked that high though. So he's going to be a good and like a Jameson Williams, same thing, right? Yeah. Rookies who were hurt, missed some time, and in Treylon Burks even, I'm not going to be out on it. He showed a glimpse there, like one glimpse, and then he got hurt again, right? So,
right.
So there's some guys down there that could be interesting, but
we'll see. It'll turn into like what happens with the QB carousel as well, because I keep looking at someone like Pittman that has all the capability in the world, and you're kind of like, until that offense, until that QB situation clears up.
I like Pittman a lot. I'm just gonna stay away.
Yeah. And then honestly, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, even though they felt like they were in a terrible situation, have made themselves very useful. Which cracks me up because I don't know how far will they fall, or because they're halfway names. Like, especially like Lockett, he's going to fall further than he always should.
He always does.
So there's going to be another value pick, and it's 1 year older, but I don't think it really matters for him. So
then you got
Mike Williams,
like the Terry McLaurin, who's just always going to be in that 20-some range probably, and
just one caught in wide receiver purgatory.
I'll probably stay away from Mike Evans. So
right,
I think it's done for me there. But all right. There we go. Top 10 wide receivers plus some more wide receivers. But that'll be it for today. We'll have quarterbacks yet for you this year. We'll get you some quarterback ranks and maybe some breakout players, and then call it a season and be back after the draft, or by about the draft time. So, but all right, that'll do it. Talk to you guys next time.